Peace and blessings, everybody. Can you guys actually hear me now? Somebody type into the somebody type into the chat box and let me know if you guys can hear me and see. Good evening. Hi. What's up? What's going on? Everybody here? Let me know if y'all can hear me. Peace and blessings, everybody. This is Medicine Man, and we are now active in our Earth Element class. So let's get it popping. I've been working for weeks to put this class together. All right, you see there's a buzzing. Anybody? Hey, y'all let me know if my sound is good. Y'all all let me know. Everybody has to hear me very clearly. And I want to make sure we don't have any technical difficulties because we could be getting busy, man. You're going to be here for a minute getting loose with it. Good, good. No, my phone is not vibrating, man. I turn my vibrator off on my phone. I turned everything off. So we good to go. Cool deal. All right. One of the main things that I wanted to discuss in the Earth Element series, when we talking about Earth elements, and we talking about working with the forces of nature from what we gather from a shamanistic perspective, and root working is very like connected to shamanism because we deal and work with the raw elements. And working with the raw elements, there's definitely not a methodological blueprint as to how we're going to approach it. What I mean by saying that there's not a methodological blueprint is that there is not structured ways to approach the earth elements because we all have our unique ways of approaching nature. Now, when we go to extract things from nature, we have to look at the essence. And when someone says we're looking at the essence of what that element is, be it dirt, be it tree bark, be it a shell or stones or other organic like limbs from trees and leaves from trees. All of these organic elements possess what people in ETRs call ashe, and in some place they call it the sombra, and they call it other names, chi, the raw life force. All of these descriptive names of that particular energy of nature, it just kind of describes the earth energy field. And one of the things about the earth energies is that when we work with the earth energies, we have to ground ourselves. So we're going to talk about grounding, and I'm going to give an explanation behind making spiritual baths using organic elements, and the importance of it. So now first we're going to talk about gathering elements. When we go to certain places, right, and feel free to ask questions, but when we go to certain places, for example, everybody know about graveyard dirt, right? And how to collect graveyard dirt. I guess people know how to collect graveyard dirt. And some of the explanations that we get is that, you go to the headstone, and you grab the dirt from around the headstone. And some people say, well, you go to the grave and you get the dirt from the head and you get the dirt from the feet. Um, in those ideas of gathering dirts, nobody actually tell us, hey, when you go to gather dirt from a grave, you really need to consult with that particular spirit of the dead before you even touch it. And that's something that we don't know. Well, a lot of us don't know. And this is why when we think like a root worker, we have to know how to approach even the spirits of nature as well as the dead when we gathering our earth elements. So proper veneration and a proper approach to a grave, and I'm going to deal with that first, is that you consult with the spirit. One of the ways of consulting with the spirits, minor technique, after you develop your psychic abilities and things like that. You can't go into the cemetery romanticizing things because it's real. It's not an enactment, it's an actual process of something that's really happening. So, one of the ways that you can communicate with the spirit of the grave, if those people that follow me know about the four pennies, and when you approach the grave, you use the four pennies by tossing them onto the headstone and letting them hit the ground and asking particular questions. One of the particular questions you're going to ask when you approach a grave to extract graveyard dirt is, okay, are you willing to work with me and achieving whatever goal that you have set out for yourself? So let's say, hypothetically, you're working on a prosperity situation. And here's how thinking like a root worker does for you. You're working on a prosperity situation for yourself, and here's your thought pattern. Here's how your thought pattern should be. Okay, I'm going to get some bank dirt. Okay, so let's get the bank dirt from by the ATM and on the right side of the front door scenario. Then we're going to take that bank dirt, and let's say we're going to stop by Walmart, and we're going to get the dirt from the front door Walmart, the right side of Walmart dirt. We merge those two dirts. Okay, now we work on something from prosperity now. So let's say we take a shirt that we had on when we graduated. You take cut off a little tiny piece because your graduation was a great event, all of the great energy of success. So you cut that off, or you cut off your wedding dress only if you in a successful marriage. You know what I mean? But I would focus on something like a graduation or promotion, the clothes that you had on during that time, because it carries the energy. And put that shredded and put it into the dirt. Or anything of particular significance that you may have had on during a great event that you were extremely happy or amazed, excited, and you accomplished something. Because what you had on during that time that you was in that state, it actually absorbs the energy of your body, and the clothing absorbs the energy of the situation and experience. Primarily before you wash it. After you wash it, the energy loosens a little bit, but the energy is still there for the most part. Now, and I'm still in the scenario about building this prosperity. So, and thinking like a root worker. So we got the dirt, we got the piece of the graduation or the very important clothing, and we shred it into the dirt. Now, what's your next plan of thought when you're approaching collecting this graveyard dirt now and doing this thing for the grave? We go to the grave, we do the reading. After the reading is done, we turn around and we go and collect all of the prosperity dirts. The dirt from the bank, the dirt from Walmart, the dirt from a loan company. You know what I mean? Any place that generates a lot of money, in and out, traffic, consumerism, and businesses are the primary places to extract dirts from for prosperity reasons. Now, when we go to the grave with that dirt, we're asking this particular spirit if they're willing to help us magnify the working that we're doing by doing the reading. But now here's the question. Do you pick a random spirit to do this? You see? That's the question. Do you pick a random spirit to do prosperity? The answer to that is no. No, 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 no. You don't. And the reason for that being, well, thinking like a root worker in particular, you would automatically think ahead of time. You wouldn't go to a hood cemetery to work with a spirit to give you prosperity. You would go to a rich person's cemetery. You would look at the name. You would look at this person, see if this person has any heir or inherited any heir's property. You want to look and see what kind of wealth this person had before you touch or approach them. Because you may approach a obsessive gambler, and you add that to your work, and that spirit, just loses all your money. It will help you lose your money and bring energy into your life to help you lose all your money. So you have to be very particular when you're working with things like that. So when you add that to the graveyard experience and working with the spirits of the grave, what happens is you have to know if the spirit wants to work. Some spirits don't want to work. Some do. So, and this is what makes it complicated when you try to extract graveyard dirt, because you have to know that. And this is why I tell people to often stay away from that, because it's too much complex of a situation for a newbie to be going in there grabbing dirt, because you can grab the dirt and do some work. The work might work, but you might attract a lot of other things along with you. So this is why graveyard dirt, because of the essence that it carries, is not your first choice of earth material to use, because you can affect nature and change things and do things without necessarily going straight to the extremity of using graveyard dirt and being untrained. You see what I'm saying? So, and that's important there. So now when we extracting dirt from other places, like a bank, like we go to the bank, take it there. Now we're at the bank. How, when we look at the bank, we roll in the parking lot, be like, okay, what do I need? How do I extract the materials that I need? Well, the first thing that we need to understand is we're dealing with the earth, the trees. Trees implant themselves into the earth. The earth itself is a living being, you see? And being that the earth is a living being, when we tap into the earth, we tap into the earth through what? We either dig a hole, okay, or through the trees. Think about it. Every ritual in African traditions, you know, as African people and people of African descent, it is has been systematically thought by all of us that the trees are very, very sacred. When we look across African traditions, we find the baobab tree, the acacia, and different types of trees that are sacred. And rituals and ceremonies are done at these trees. The reason why these ceremonies and rituals are done at these trees is because trees are portals, vortexes that aligns itself on the earth meridians. Because the earth has ley lines. These ley lines are energetic lines that travel all around the earth, that gives the earth its magnetic field. See? Just like human beings have auras, the earth has an aura. And that aura of the earth is a mathematical, geometric figurine and shape of energy that travels around on lines. Trees grow from those lines. So as African people and people of African descent, when we tap into that energy, when we tap into the energy of the earth, we go through trees. You see? One of the ways. There are many, but one is we go through trees. Now, when we do our rituals at these trees and we tap into the energies of the tree, we get to the bank. Let's take it to the bank. Now we have the understanding of trees. Now let's think about it from a root working perspective. Now we roll it into the bank parking lot. Okay, I see one tree at the front of the parking lot, at the crossroad of the parking lot. You know when the parking lot comes in and go out and there's a street that go across. Okay, there's two trees in the entrance of the bank parking lot. One on the right side and one on the left, correct? Okay. Now, from a root working thinking perspective, coming into the bank, what significance of energy? What's the significance of energy from the bank tree on the right and the bank tree on the left? Let's think metaphysically here. On the right, everything is done right, right? We understand what right means, turning right, doing things right, the right perspective, the right attitude. So right often, and just in our cultural perspective, it represents things that are good. And then the left, you know, we know what the left represents, the things that are negative. So when you're trying, from a root work perspective, when you're trying to change situations for prosperity using trees or dirt, you get it from the right side to do good, and you do it from the left side to create blockages. So when I'm rolling into the bank, and I know I'm trying to do some work for myself to bring some prosperity, I would look at the bank in my mind, stand directly in the front, align myself with the front door, and I would split it. The left side, stay off of the left side because I ain't trying to block nothing. And I would gather all of my materials from the right side, everything that's on the right side of the bank, from the right side of the bank door all the way over on the whole property. I would only gather things from that side. The things I would gather: grass. Grass is an element that's used and collects the aura of what's ever on it. So by a building sitting on the grass absorbs the energy of that building. You see? Just as well as the dirts. You see what I'm saying? The grass as well as the dirts, they absorb the energy. So pulling the grass or the dirts is good. The reason why, the difference between pulling the grass and pulling the dirts have crystals in them. They have a crystalline structure. Dirt is more like taking a quartz crystal and crushing it up. You see what I'm saying? You take a quartz crystal, you crush it up, and you get it all the way down to the powder. It's like dirt. It's gritty like dirt because dirt have crystalline structures. And because dirt have crystalline structures, it operates in the same capacity as a quartz crystal. So when you think about the many different aspects of things that you could do with a quartz crystal, you can conjure energy into it, you can store energy into it, you can pull energy out from it, you can collect energy with it, and more. So if you can do that with a quartz crystal and dirt has a crystalline structure, what happens is they both have the same property or similar, very similar, significant property. One is more a powdery substance and the other is a stone, but both are crystalline. You see? So when we're talking about the dirts and the trees and how the trees connected on the earth ley lines and extracting everything from the right side, we're thinking like root workers. So we come into the bank, we look, everything on the right side, we know we want, we get the grass. Why? What's the difference between grass and dirt and extracting? Well, grass is more of a living, alive at the moment or organic material, and dirt is a more alive, organic material, but it's not living. Think something could be alive and not living. The reason why I say that is because grass itself is alive. It has a root, it's living, it grows. Dirt doesn't grow, but it's alive because of the energy that is possessed because it has a crystalline structure. So anything that has a crystalline structure technically is alive, but something that has life is living. Hard concept to understand, but dirt doesn't grow. Dirt doesn't absorb the sunlight and grow and process and all this. It's just a crystal. But the grass, the plants, they all grow, they're alive. So when you mix dirt with grass, you get two different aspects of the earth elements, both coming from the magnetic field of the earth. So when you extract from the right side of the bank, you get the dirt and the grass and grind it together to make sure that the polarities that you're pulling are sufficient for your work. Always give reverence to the earth when you pull the dirts. So when I'm pulling this grass, I'm giving peace and blessings to the earth, the Mother Earth, or however you perform it, because I'm not here to kind of show you how to pray to the earth, but I'm telling you about veneration. But and in your veneration, you make sure you bless the earth, you thank the earth, and you ask your ancestors who all shed their blood on the earth to give you guidance, power, protection, and stability so that you can be able to focus and accomplish all of your goals or whatever the objective is at the moment. Always do that. Always leave an offering when you extract something. And in hoodoo and root working, it's like, it just depends. Some people say, well, drop a penny offering when you pull your dirt. Some people may say, well, spit down. Spit in the hole or the spot that you extracted your dirt from. The reason for that is to exchange energies. You see? You're going to exchange energies. So when I take some dirt or some grass and I spit in that spot, I am telling the earth that yes, I am extracting this element for this particular purpose and I am exchanging it with my energy as a replacement because there's nothing in the universe that operates on imbalanceness. Everything has to be balanced. So if I take something, I replace it. That's part of the equal exchange of the universe. And it helps to ground yourself, um, and which is part of the earth elements kind of discussion. Because when we ground ourselves, and let's move over to grounding. Now, first, I want to make sure that everybody have a complete, total understanding of the perception of when you approach someplace like a bank and how to think about it when you're extracting. Now, does everybody have an understanding on that? I'm gonna give it a few minutes for us to answer that question. All right, everybody good on the questions? Cool deal. Um, let's move on to talking about grounding. Before we get into some of the elements, I'm gonna show y'all some of the elements and things that we working with, and that we're going to work with, and extracting and working with the earth elements, man. Because we got fruits, we got vegetables, um, oils and roots and herbs and dirts and powders, and we're going to work with all of that. And I'm going to show you briefly how we're going to put some of these things together for certain reasons and certain significance. But I want everybody to have an understanding. So before we moved on to the grounding, so any questions, please ask them now while I take a few seconds because we're gonna be here for 3 hours, and I just want to make sure everybody's on point and everybody following suit and on deck and understanding what we're going on, and I'm gonna answer all questions. No questions. So now let's move on to grounding. We're going to talk about using the earth and the earth elements to ground yourself. Um,
Excuse me, you do have a question. You have two of them.
okay. Okay. I want to make sure I understand. We face towards the object,
ATM.
the ATM. I'm sorry. Um, when you, I'm not understanding the question, but I'm gonna say this.
Approaching a bank. When you're approaching
When you approach the bank, align yourself. One of the ways. It's not a definite absolute way, but it's a very great perspective in developing your mind as a root worker and being very consistent and concrete about what you're doing. Align yourself with the front door. Like if I'm standing 10 feet from the front door of the bank, I'm aligning myself with the front door, and I use that as a measuring stick to say, well, okay, everything on the right side of me is where I extract for good, and opening paths and roads, and everything on the left side is what I use, and for whatever, for your closing paths and things like that. The trees also, that's the way I would perceive it. You see? Now, if you wanted to do something a little different, it definitely would change if you're gathering dirt from the front of the bank or dirts from the back of the bank. It just would depend on exactly what you're doing. Now let's say you're gathering dirt from the back from behind the bank. Why would I gather dirt from behind the bank? You see? What would actually be the reason for that? Maybe somebody owes you money in the past and you're trying to get them to pay you. So you're going from the back and bringing it to the front. You see what I'm saying? So if somebody owe you money and trying to pay you, you ain't getting that money from them, I would gather that dirt from the back of the bank and put it in the necessary work that I need to work to get this person to pay me. You see? And the same perspective exists when you're working on the right side of the bank, the left side of the bank, the front and the back. Because remember, when we work with the elements, the four elements, we also working with the four directions. So the principle of the four directions has to be applied to wherever we're gathering the dirts from or wherever we're gathering natural elements from. And when I say the principle of the four directions, north, south, east, and west, has polarities. The south has a polarity. They even say positive, negative, positive, negative. So it's like up is positive, down is negative, right is positive, left is negative. You see? And then in those polarities, when you put that on top of the bank, let's put that map, north, south, east, west map on top of the bank. Boom. We got the front door that's facing the south. The back of the bank is facing the north. The right side is on the east and the left side is on the west. And we use that diagram when we go, extract, that mental picture when we go extract. But that's not only with a bank, that's also in the cemetery. You will go to the north of the cemetery for specific workings, and you will go to the east of the cemetery for specific workings, and the west of the cemetery and to the south of the cemetery, all for different types of workings. And this is why, you just don't go in the graveyard and grab random dirt, because it's a lot to know. And even in the woods, you go into a wooded area, you should enter into a wooded area from the angle, from the side, north, south, east, west, that's most relevant to the working you're doing. So let's say, for example, we buy a wooded area. Okay, if we're by the wooded area, you stand in front of it and use that blueprint, north, south, east, and west. If you're doing some good work and you're trying to extract elements to do good work, then you enter the forest or the wooded area from the east. This is a symbolic gesture to the spirits of the forest that what you're trying to do is of a good nature, and that those plants that decide to communicate with you intuitively would communicate with you, would communicate to you with a good nature and a good, a good intention. You see what I'm saying? I can't hear you. So what I'm saying is, those plants, when you communicate, when you walk into the whatever side of the forest, the plants that you communicate with and how to communicate with plants is something that we're going to get into. Because when you walk into a forest, let's say I walk into a forest and I see let's say I see bamboo, my favorite bamboos. I always got I got bamboo sticks and stuff all over the place. We going, bamboos and stuff like that. Let's say I see a bamboo bush. Okay, as a root worker, when I approach that bamboo bush, it's like, okay, dang, I want to get some bamboo sticks, man. And it's like, okay, how I'm going to extract, how I'm going to get it, how I'm going to appease the natural elements without sending the energy off. Because when you approach something, it's like you have to approach it with respect, or your communication with it is not going to be correct. You see what I'm saying? So when I approach the tree, the first thing I do as a root worker, you want to tap the tree, rub on the tree, and communicate with it and talk to it. And definitely be like, this is me. This is medicine man. I'm coming to receive the energy from the earth and to bless the earth with my presence, to bless the earth with honor and veneration for all of my ancestors that died, whose blood has been shed to the earth. I ask that the spirits of this tree, the spirits of this plant, come with me and work with me to manifest change in my life and in the change of others, change in the life of others. And I go from there and I either place a penny down, because you can bury a penny at the spot of the tree from where you cutting from and things like that. Other people do certain things, other root workers do certain things, like they have certain types of powders, blessing powders and stuff like that, that they actually use when they extract elements. They place the blessing powder around the tree, around the base of the tree. That's one technique. Burying, spitting, or blowing smoke, or there's so many different methods, man, to properly give honor to the trees. Spitting, blowing smoke, blowing rum, um, burying and painting, burying intricate trinkets. Like you may have a certain type of trinket that you consecrated specifically for the purpose of giving veneration to the earth when you extract elements. But always the idea is always have a consecrated object, or either your own spit. Some people put hair, put their hair down, toenail down into the earth. You can do those things too. It's part of grounding yourself, especially when you use hair and toenails and stuff like that to exchange with the earth. It's part of grounding yourself. You see what I'm saying? So um, those elements will work good. So let's get into grounding. Let's get into grounding. How would you ground yourself? All right. That's my question to y'all. Somebody tell me how you ground yourself. Yes, you face towards the object, the pre-user. You do. So my question to y'all is, how do you ground yourself? Come on now. Walk bare feet outside to the ground. Yeah. Hey, Charles. How do you ground yourself, Charles? All right, Mr. Say meditate with crystals. All right, Chola. You kneel or shaka. So when you kneel down, man, I'm telling you what's going on. When you kneel down to ground yourself, are you in the house or are you outside the house? Because grounding should take place in nature, honestly. Now you can ground yourself in your home because your home's still in nature, but there's so many electrical, mechanical energies floating around your house. There's so many cell phones, and when you go to ground, people don't even understand the electromagnetic frequencies that flow through cell phones. Just being in your pocket messes up your whole aura. Like, we ain't gonna even get into that part, but going out into nature and communicating with nature directly, like Buddha sat under the Lodi tree. In that legend, it talks about how he received visions and stuff under the tree. But nowhere in the legend that it tells you that the Buddha actually connected with nature in the tree. But you always notice that there's always a tree in reference to Buddha and his meditation. Because that's a significant fact what they were teaching through the science, that the trees were a form of communication to the spirit world. So when we go out into nature and we make our proper venerations and offerings to nature, and we work with the trees and extract that energy, and we ground ourselves. One technique is hugging a tree. You can walk out into the woods and hug a tree and connect with your heart. It's directly the heart chakra. You see what I'm saying? And the heart chakra connects because the heart beats. Here's an interesting fact about the heart. There's every organ in your body, and this is dealing with the earth and how you connect your heart to the earth. Every organ in your body vibrates. And your heart is the only organ in your body that vibrates heavily. You see what I'm saying? And it's boom, 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 boom. But it vibrates on a rhythm. That rhythm determines the vibrational frequency of your body. Now, the heart frequency, I think, is around 7 hertz, 6 or 7 hertz. You see what I'm saying? So when you hug a tree and your heart beats against the tree, what you're doing is magnetically sending your spiritual energy into the tree. And you can magnetically receive the energy straight from the tree. And this is one way how the ancient sages, received very deep and intense spiritual visions. Very deep and intense spiritual visions. Simply hugging the tree. But making not just hugging the tree, oh, I love you. No. It's a spiritual experience when you put your arms around the tree and you hold your hands and you channel energy from your feet, with your feet against the base of the tree. And you hug the tree with your arms around the trunk of the tree with both of your hands interconnected, joining the energies. Because you are a walking polarity. You have a left and you have a right side. So when you connect, and trust me, some people sit down at the base of a tree and wrap their legs around and wrap their arms around and hold their chest to the tree. and they go into deep states of trance. And this magnifies your trance because while you're going into a state of trance, you're connected to an earth ley line. And being connected to the earth's ley line, it takes you into a deeper state of trance because you're magnetically in tune with the frequencies coming straight from the ley line. You're not conjuring something from out there into your living room or out there into your altar room. You're actually in nature connecting with it directly. You see? And that's the difference. It's like electricity. You know, you can connect with electricity. Well, I'm gonna use a different scenario. I like the electricity scenario, but I'm gonna use a different one. It's like water. You can turn on your faucet and get water. Sure you can. But you also can go into an ocean and get water. Right. You see? So there's different levels to it. So I would definitely say when you go out into nature and experience nature and tap into nature directly right there in the vicinity of where the power actually is coming from, it's more intense and it's more magnified and unique than conjuring something outside of your home into your home. One of the reasons why I talk about grounding and protection is because it's always a bad thing in my perspective, unless you have ancestral spirits in your house, to never conjure anything into your house. I notice that people work with different spirits and all in their house. I think that might be a bad choice because you make your home an open channel. And making your home an open channel is kind of uh, it's just kind of strange because you have so many things that you're trying to accomplish, but yet you're bringing spirits in and out, in and out, in and out, and it creates an imbalance. So it's all good to work with your ancestors inside your home, work with your ancestors inside your home. It's good to do that, um, and then work with other spirits outside your home. We have to get really comfortable with going back to the old techniques. We have to be real comfortable because the old techniques definitely have a deeper connection to nature than the newer techniques. I'm not saying the newer techniques don't work, but I'm just saying that the older techniques have a deeper connection. So when we ground in ourselves, and let's talk about grounding a little more. Um, some of the ways, even more to ground yourself, other than hugging a tree, is burying yourself at the beach. Trust me, ground city. You can ground yourself at the beach. Trust me, it's definitely bury yourself under in the sand and go into meditation. Another way of grounding yourself is going out into the ocean, of course, and cleansing yourself in the ocean water is very grounding. Release your energies, release your fears, attract your abundance, attract your prosperity, attract your clarity of mind. All of these things you can do in these places. But now, when you ground yourself, what are you necessarily doing? What are you doing when you're grounding yourself? People say, well, I'm grounding myself. Well, you're grounding yourself to what? What are you doing? What is grounding yourself? Because we understand that grounding means to connect with the earth. But what exactly is grounding? Grounding is stabilizing because we are extremely vibrational beings. And vibrations vibrate all over the place, right? That's why you might be thinking one thing 1 second, thinking another thing another minute, and daydreaming at the same time, and thinking about your ex, and thinking about your wife, and thinking about your kids, and think all at the same time. So when you ground yourself, what grounding does for all those thoughts, all those emotions, all those energies, is stabilize it so that you can think about everything properly. So all your thoughts that come through, it comes through to benefit you. You won't be thinking things that would destroy you and offset you. This is what the grounding process is supposed to do. So grounding is you It's like electricity. Now let's use the electricity scenario. Now let's go there. As an electrician, do you guys know what electricians do? First of all, they come in your house and they hook up your electricity and everything else, and then you got to run this ground wire from the side of your home into the ground, a copper wire at that. So now let's look at it. Let's look at it. A copper wire, grounding that energy. Why we ground that energy? Because so much electricity, 240 something volts, running through all your sockets, running all in your house. If that energy just run through your house without being grounded, you could easily touch your refrigerator and get electrocuted. You could easily hit your light switch and blow your house up if it's not grounded, because the energy is all over the place everywhere. But when it's grounded, every appliance in your house gets the right amount of energy it needs, and all of the excess energy goes out into the ground wire, into the earth, to dissipate and ground itself, to bring the energy level in your house at a neutral and balanced level. Copper wire, we're going to get into that. So now, when we ground ourselves, what are we doing? All of the unstable energies that run through our body, we're grounding it and stabilizing it into the earth. We're taking the excess energies that we don't need, the excess energies that we don't understand, the excess energies that cause chaos in our life, and we're grounding it, bringing it down. So when we ground ourselves, we have to go into ourselves and release our fears into the earth. Release our tensions into the earth. So one way and another way of doing that, you can simply go in your backyard, sit in a chair, dig a hole and plant your feet into that hole. Pour some rainwater into that hole with your feet in that hole. Call on your Eguns, your ancestors, and ask them to remove all of the energies that's off of you, that's not good for you. Ask them to ground you, to take the energies that's for you and bring them on you. Take the energies that's not for you and take them away. And in that hole, you wash away, wash down, wash away all your burdens. You cover that hole up, and you pull your feet out, cover that hole up. Ground yourself. This is one of the rituals. One way you can do it. So I give y'all a few ways of just, and it's about thinking about it. Because what you want to do is connect the right way. There's not one particular way to connect. It's all within the process. Okay? Now that we passed grounding, and I hope everybody understand that grounding process on how to ground your energies and take your emotions off it and plant it into the earth. How to take all of your burdens off you, plant it into the earth and let it dissipate, let it go away. Now, we're done with that, so let's move on. And we still rolling. And now we're going to get to some of the fun parts. We're going to get to some of the fun parts. What we have here, and I'm just showing you from the collection aspect. Let me get my lighter. Hold on 1 sec, y'all. All right. Any questions? Anybody got any questions? Please pour it out on me now. I'm answering all questions. I want to go back and forth so I can give people enough time to elaborate and ask any questions that they need. I hate lectures, y'all. So let's. Now let's talk about perceiving, how we're looking at working with. And let's look at how we're working with animal totem spirits. Oh man, that's like one of the hot topics when it comes to root working and hoodoo. Because a lot of people have a lot of people has overlooked and underlooked the aspect of totem power when working with the roots. And one thing for certain, one thing for sure, I definitely always try to encourage people to work with the totem power and then totem spirits because animals, animal blood, animal bones, all possess a specific nature and energy. Animals are alive and they have spirits, and their spirits from an African religious perspective and the hoodoo root working perspective, which is included, it's an idea and it's understood that when we work with them, when we use the bones and blood and parts of the animal, that we conjure the animal's spirit into our work. And when we conjure the animal spirit into our work, we pretty much control that spirit and we use that spirit to manifest change. A lot of times when we add that totem spirit energy to our own personal energy, and then we might be using let's say we're using a particular spirit along with that, it's like a triple threat. Using your personal energy, using the energy of an animal, spirit, and you're using a spirit itself, be it an angelic being or whatever. The totem spirit becomes the helper to any other spiritual force or energy that you're using to manifest change. In African traditions, we use a lot of birds, a lot. And because the birds fly high over in Egypt, and you look on the top of the Egyptian pharaoh's crown, you see the vulture. And in different cultures, you see eagles and hawks. And these birds have very deep and high significance meanings, especially when it comes to the rulers of those lands, because the bird is considered the highest authority of spiritual nature. So when we work with the totem power of the bird, we give our work the highest authority in our life. And the spirits of these animals and bones, it magnifies our work. So, and this is one of the reasons that we use the bones. Now, I know in modern day hoodoo and root work, this has been taken out. Working with possum bones and working with alligator bones and squirrel bones and all of the different bones and different animals that were indigenous and that are indigenous, especially the black cat and dogs. All of these animals that are indigenous to this land were actually used as totem animals in all of the root work and shamanistic magic that exists in America. So it's not like we use animals that weren't here. We use animals that when we walk in our backyard and we walk in the woods that were there. As root workers, we were capturing those animals. As root workers, we were working with those plants that grew in our backyard. As root workers, we were working with those plants and trees and stuff that grew in our ecology. We weren't ordering things. We were extracting. And I think for the most part, we were extracting. And I think for the most part, with the appropriated version of hoodoo and root working that's out here, we've been programmed to collect and buy certain things because we're being taught that certain herbs with certain names have certain properties and should be used in certain ways, versus the ideology of being shamanistic, going out and communicating with plants and asking the plant, what type of energy do you have for me? Because see, you can go to a basil plant and say, well, according to the online consensus and the appropriate hoodoo and whatever, they say that, well, basil is for money and it's a root used for money and protection. Did you actually ask that plant itself, before you extracted it, if it was willing to work with you in your money situation? Did you ask? The answer to that is no. So let me tell you something. They can say basil is for money all day long, but if nobody really communicated with that plant to ask, then how do you know? Same perspective when we go to the graves. You pull somebody graveyard dirt, how you know that person going to help you? See? A plant is alive also, has a spirit. You just don't come and take it and say, you're going to do this for me. Because it doesn't work like that. Because that means that you're forcing it to do something for you. And when you try to force something or someone to do something for you, it never turns out right. And this is why we respect veneration. And this is why we respect approaching things in a certain way. And that's why I respect, and that's why, excuse me, y'all, we do it in a certain way. So now, any more questions before we move forward? I'm waiting on my questions. Somebody come to me. Excuse me, y'all, one more time. Any more questions? So everybody understand what we're talking about with the totem power and everything? Now, I know some of y'all scared. I know some of y'all scared to go get your roadkill. Trust me, I with you. A lot of y'all scared to go get roadkill. But birds. Like I talked about the totem power of birds. You can prepare the skulls and different things you can do to magnify the energy of the totem animal. Let me see. I got some bones around there. Let me reach over here and grab. Oh, reach over there, grab the bones. No, not right here. We got some bones. Here's a significant and unique set of bones I got here. This unique set of bones right here, I use it for readings, for special type of readings. But these bones actually came from and one of my videos, I actually found these bones, when I was making a video, man, in the slave jail down in Carolina. I went in there to record a video and document some things, and here it goes. I found a whole bird, a black bird too. Was a crow, and the whole bird, man. I got his bones and everything, and now I use it for readings, man. And trust me, it works. I definitely throw the bones and do readings and stuff like that. It's old root working techniques. Learning how to read bones is very complicated. Trust me, it is, and it's not overnight thing. Not overnight thing. But the bones can be used. The bones can be used to extract the essence of the spirit. You see, and this is what empowers root work. One of the many ingredients and elements that empowers root work is using the power of the totem spirit. And for the most part, that knowledge set, that skill set has been extracted out of hoodoo, mainly by the people that perpetuate the idea that hoodoo was all so-called plants and herbs, fruits and vegetables, and none of it deal with blood and animal sacrifices and stuff like that. Animal sacrifice is just a topic of sacrificing. And I don't think it's a level of sacrificing, it's more of a level of releasing. You're releasing the spirit and commanding the spirit with a particular job to do for you. These spirits, animal spirits, reincarnate just like human spirits. And working with the animal spirit, I think for the most part, from studying and researching the ancient history of mankind, for the most part, we understand that even human sacrifices were once used in all of the earth-based magic. Human sacrifices. And so in certain cultures way back when, certain types of people were used for sacrifices, and that is true. And as time evolved, people went from sacrificing certain people for power and communicating with the spirits and different types of spirits also. They went from people to animals. And when they went to the animals and people started using the animal spirits throughout nature to do certain things, that's when the whole science became balanced. Now, trust me, from an earth science perspective, there is a part of all forms of magic that dealing with human bones and stuff like that, but that's another topic. Um, Now, any questions? No questions coming up. So now let's talk about, we done talked about dirts. Let's talk about powders. Let's talk about the powders. We talked about the bones a little bit. And trust me, we can grind some bones down and get busy and grind some bones down just to kind of show you guys some things.
We do have two questions.
All right. I got two questions on board. So let's get those questions answered. One time. Let's see what we got. I'm looking right now. Okay, somebody says, Arasa Malik, man. What's up? If the spirit wants to work with you, if the spirits want to work with you, one, you ask. Why do you ask? How do you know? Well, having the ability to do readings. That's why being a root worker, man, you have to know how to do readings effectively. Because once you're reading and when I say readings, I'm not talking about card interpretations or interpretations of an oracle just plain. I'm talking about being able to see into something. Because you have to be able to see exactly what you're dealing with from a psychic perspective, from a mediumistic perspective. So you have to be able to go into a state of trance to do the divination. So you can communicate with the spirit, because in order to communicate with spirits, you don't communicate with spirits based on simple symbolisms and interpretations that's concrete. You communicate with spirits through intuitive measures. You see? So that means you have to do trance work. You have to really intune yourself and program your mind and your spirit by doing trance work. So by doing trance work, you enhance your spiritual abilities. So when you do communicate with spirits, you know if you're communicating with the right spirit, one, and then you know if that spirit decides to do the work for you. And it makes it easier on you versus you trying to approach a spirit not knowing if that spirit is even willing to work for you. So being a medium and developing your mediumistic abilities is very paramount, very important to communicating with spirits. Because there's no other way. From my perspective, I mean that there's no other way to communicate with spirits. Especially when using oracles that are concrete. You know, when you flip a card, this card here has a definition that says it has to be this. I'm like, spirits don't communicate like that from my perspective. They communicate more on when you turn something over and you look into it, you receive a message from it. That's the perspective we should have when we approach things. And it gives us the idea to let our spirits tell us what they think, the images on these cards. Let our spirits tell us what they think, the directions and a certain placement of stones and bones. Our spirit tell us what it means. But we have to be truly connected from a psychic perspective and a mediumistic perspective. All right, I hope that answers your question, Malik. Let's get at another question. Let's go. I'm going back to the list. Let's make sure I don't miss nobody. All right. Any questions? Any questions? Come on now. Y'all got to have some questions now. What are y'all doing? What are y'all doing over there? Any questions? So y'all telling me y'all understand the concept of working with totem animals. Y'all got that? All right. Who's who's afraid? I want to see who's afraid to go out into the woods and catch an animal for root work. Tell me you're afraid. Tell me if you're afraid. All right. I want to see some people come forth right now and say, I am afraid to get an animal and use it in my root work. I'm gonna wait till somebody say something. I ain't gonna say nothing until somebody say something. I need me an answer. Me, Patricia, you scared? I know you scared. Listen. All right, who else scared other than Patricia? I'm waiting. Here we go, Cody. I got a good question. Can we work with any animal or only specific ones? Well, there's a science to working with totem animals. Okay? And the science to working with totem animals is that in root work, from a root worker perspective and from talking to different root workers and from what I know, from what I've learned, um, different animals have different significances in root work. Like, for example, the possum. The possum is used for protection. Possum bones are used for protection, and possum bones are also used for divinations. Raccoon bones are used for divination too by some root workers, and also used for protection and other harmful acts in root working. But when you're working with the bones of an animal, there really isn't any kind of label that you can put on it, like I can use possum bones for, for destruction. It's not about that. It's about you utilizing the possum spirit in your work. So I can take the possum bones and grind it down into a powder and put it into some prosperity work to conjure that possum spirit to help manifest my prosperity work. Or I can use the possum bones in some binding work to help that binding work magnify itself with the presence of the possum spirit. Or I can use it in some prosperity work. Or I can use it in some healing. You see, because it's not about what the bones mean or what the bones represent. It's about working with that spirit to manifest change. So that's once you have that spirit under your control and your command, you can direct that spirit to do various things and not have a particular label on it. Okay. Now, Patricia says, I have another good question. Some traditions say each person has their own totem animal. Is hoodoo like that? From a traditional aspect, hoodoo's not an organized religion. So there's not an organized approach or an organized perspective. Excuse me. Water, hold on. So it's not an organized approach or organized perspective as to what animals in particular, if any, are connected to a particular person through the hoodoo perspective. That idea rests in the hands of the root worker and the person that the root worker is working with. Some root workers work with totem animal spirits. Some root workers don't. It just depends on what was preserved in their lineage. So, for me personally, the knowledge of working with totem animals is in my, in my circumference, in my lineage and bloodline. So, I work with them, and it's a whole different, totally advanced science. Because when you can go in the woods and you can find somebody who say, "Hey, man, we can take these their eyeball and use it in divination. Same way you can put a quartz crystal into a bowl of water or a cup of water and do a divination. You can also submerge a deer's eye into a bowl of water for divination. A deeper level of divination because you're accessing the power of the animal spirit and you can see into the spirit world through the eyes of the animal. So it makes it a more intense spiritual experience than just using a regular bowl of water or using a bowl of water with a quartz crystal. You see? The experience level of it becomes different. And so when those practices are taken out of root working, it limits the levels of power that you can access because you don't have that knowledge, that knowledge nor the skill set. And this is what we are trying to return back to root working, the whole essence of it, not the new direction that it's taking, because the people that perpetuate the new direction that root working and hoodoo has been taking, especially the online stuff, the direction that it's taking is like away from the animal, away from the blood. And we have to look at the people that perpetuate this ideology. The people that perpetuate this ideology are animal right activists. I don't have anything wrong to say about any animal right activist. I only can say that in African tradition, there is a perspective about using animals that doesn't degrade or debase the animal. It only empowers the animal because the animal is used to empower us. And for us letting the blood of the animal go into our work, it empowers our destiny, empowers the earth's destiny, and empowers the destiny of, of the work you're doing. And from that perspective, the way that we think about and the way that we venerate the earth and have the respect level of the earth, letting the blood of an animal go is not a barbaric act. In our perspective, it's a spiritual experience. So, so like I say, there are a lot of people that perpetuate that you don't have to use blood or animal parts in your magic, but I can tell you from experience that it magnifies your work. I'm not saying that without it won't work, but there's a different level to it when it's there. And an original root working from the plantations and from the people that originally crafted it, those practices were there. And through the course of time and history, for many years, and being that certain people got their hands on the distribution of information about hoodoo and root working, and that those people were animal right activists, they decided to pump out a lot of information about root working without the information about working with animal and totem spirits. And as a result, everybody that bought the information and followed the information and the trend of the information, they end up going years and years and years, and now just finding out that, hey man, working with animals is part of the practice. It was left out intentionally, by the people that call themselves distributing information about it that don't know nothing really about it. So from that perspective, there we go with that. Any more questions? But I saw a possum last night in the neighbor's yard. Oh yeah, they be out there. Don't run up on no possums by yourself without your pocket knife.
Suggestions on trans.
I see a question on suggestions on trance work. Oh man, yeah. Okay, I got a couple of suggestions. We talking about the earth, so I'm trying to stay on topic, y'all. Grounding yourself. Go back to grounding. When you grounding yourself, part of grounding yourself is going into a state of trance. Yes, it is. There's so many various different ways you can do it. Let's go. Let's say I want to ground myself, and I'm grounding myself because I want to balance some emotional energies that I have about a certain situation or what I think about something. and I don't want it to affect me in a way that would make the situation bad for me. So I'm thinking ahead as a root worker. I'm thinking ahead, like I already know when I go to this place, when I have to deal with these people, that it ain't gonna turn out right because I know me and I know what I'm up against. So what I'm going to do, thinking like a root worker, I'm not going to run into that situation head first. I'm going to do some spiritual work on myself to ground me, to be able to deal with these people emotionally, rationally, and magically. So here it goes. Boom. How am I going to ground myself? So let's think. I'm thinking like a root worker based on what I have here. Now, what I have here, a stick from a tree in New Orleans that's over 400 years old. Right. Um, and it potent stuff. Because we talking about also, I'm gonna talk to y'all about collecting things from sacred places, earth elements. So we got a stick from a tree in New Orleans, 400 years old, better. We got a brick from the slave jail in Charleston, brick from the slave jail. Um, we can't talk about him. We have a seashell from the sea um, over in the Philippines. That's where this one here came from. And then we have an earth element here, a pyrite, raw pyrite. So, and we have this powder that I have here. This powder, it's all powdered up, but it's kind of lumps. But this is powder, all powder that I'm making. This is actually prosperity powder. So this prosperity powder is what I'm thinking. Okay, so I'm thinking like a root work. Okay, I got some prosperity powder I've been charging for a week. Now, I also have some other powder right here. This is prosperity powder too, that I've been charging for a little over a week. So I got a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So I'm working my roots. Now listen, root worker, just watch me. I need to ground myself. I'm not thinking about no ritual. I'm thinking about what I got right here. You see? What's exposed to me now? I got prosperity powder here. I got prosperity powder there. I got some dirt, bank dirt, prosperity dirt from different locations, different like I think I got script club dirt in there too. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I got script club dirt, bank dirts, and all financial stuff. And this is some bamboo paper. Bamboo paper is very good. I use it a lot. You can write on bamboo paper easy too. I'm gonna show y'all a trick about the bamboo paper also. Um, so now I got my totem power, my totem energy, and on it, and I have a stone from a mountain. This is a mountain brick. Mountain bricks are definitely used to ground things also, but remove obstacles. I find that mountain bricks are kind of soft. Look, I can pop it. I just pop a piece off. They're kind of soft. Even though they're thick, they're kind of soft. You can break it up and stuff like that and get it down to a powder real fast. Kind of soft and stuff, see? Yeah. And the mountain brick and the dust from that. Use that to remove obstacles, man. They're very good at removing obstacles or creating obstacles. Now, the mind state to think about it is a mountain. What does a mountain do, and what does that mountain symbolize in my own psyche, in my own mind? What does it symbolize? It symbolizes an obstacle. Yes, no. It symbolizes a great foundation. Yes, no. It symbolizes that if a mountain is in your path, you definitely got to go over it or around it, which makes your situation complex, right? Is it a challenge to climb a mountain? Yes, it is. So when we look at how we naturally think about what a mountain is and how a mountain affects our life and how a mountain affects our situations and how hard we have to work to conquer it, we come to the conclusion that a mountain is a very serious natural thing. And from that, when we get the dirt and the break from the mountain, our mind automatically tell us a mountain is a great thing to get over, a great thing to tackle, a great thing to challenge. So we add this energy to our work. It does exactly those things. You see, it creates that obstacle, removes that obstacle, whatever we program it to do. But the energy for it is actually there. So now I'm going to do this light trance, I guess, demonstrate a light trance. So now I done looked at everything I got. So I take a little bit of this prosperity dirt and think it like a root worker. So let me think like a root worker right now, real quick. First thing I want to do, cleanse my hands, of course. Um, and I have some oil, some special oil with all kinds of roots and herbs in there for for cleansing and stuff like that. So I'm gonna use a little bit of that on my hand to cleanse my hand real well. Now that my hands are cleansed with the oil, the prosperity oil, and different ingredients I got in there, I cleanse my hand. And let me see. Always cleanse your hands, man, when you're working with dirts, because you never want to transfer energy from one place to the next. That's very important. A lot of people do that often when they touch different ingredients and stuff like that. Like you might touch a hexing ingredient, then you go and touch a prosperity ingredient, then you go and and try to mix your prosperity stuff together after you done touched a little bit of everything. We have to get into the habit of casting energy off of our hands because our hands are sacred tools that we use, and a lot of people don't understand that. So it's just like when you're touching things, you're collecting germs. Germs are living organisms that carry energies. They carry specific energies. So if you have millions of germs on your hands, then your hands are vibrating the collective frequency of those million germs. You see what I'm saying? So keeping your hands cleaned and cleansed and both clean and cleanse is very important in magic. Very important in root work. You know what I mean? If you want to keep anything on your hands, definitely let it be some natural dirt. Not the ones you collect from different places, but from the earth. Because you can't cleanse your hands with dirt. Cleanse your hands. But now I'm cleansing my hands with oil because I'm going to go ahead and mark myself to get ready to do a light trance work just to demonstrate some of the ways that you can ground yourself. And this is a small roots altar. This is a roots altar here. Everything here is just for root work. You know what I mean? For charging and different things like that. No actual work, just charging and blessing things. All right, so first thing I want to do, after you done put the oil on my hand, little Jamaican rum on my hands too. Now, always think about what you're doing. I know I'm gonna put my head right here. I rub the circle 5 times to the right. I'm gonna lay my head right here. But first, I'm gonna grab some of this prosperity powder. I'm thinking like a root worker. I'm gonna mark my forehead with a cross. Go take some of this dirt. And I'm going to place it right on my forehead. Now, while you're laying down, you want to absorb the energy that's coming from your space. When you created this roots altar, you created an energy field. An energy field of earth energies that you're going to use in your work, your root work. So you want to attune yourself with those energies. Now, in tuning yourself to energies, the key to that is in your breathing. Breath controls vibrational frequencies that runs through your body. So when you inhale in the energies that's around you. When you exhale, you're pushing out the energies you collected. So it's an even exchange of energies. But what you're doing is programming yourself to pull in energies that's useful for you. So now we're laying here. We want to go into a light state of trance so we can absorb the energies from our earth-based altar into us to create balance. We inhale, hold the breath for about 10 seconds. Okay? So what we do, inhale, you can inhale through your mouth or you can inhale through your nostrils. Okay? Now, inhaling through your mouth is like a 5-6 second count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There it goes. That's one count. What I did was I inhaled for 6 seconds, hold it for 10, and then I slowly released it. You're going to feel your heart rate increase because what you're doing is kind of sort of pulling in oxygen, holding it, and denying the oxygen access to getting out. That little process right there, it sends you into a higher brainwave state. And when it sends you into the high, I talked about it in the book, when it sends you to the higher brainwave state, you're able to access higher levels of psychic abilities. Now, I'm not saying that you just hold your breath and do this one exercise that you're going to be a psychic. You got it. It is something that you have to continuously work on because you have to program your mind and you have to program your spirit and you have to program yourself to know what you're doing and to know that you're doing it correct. So you're going to feel the sense of lightness as you go into the early stages. Now let's do it again. Inhale, 6, 7 seconds. Hold it, 10 seconds. Exhale, slowly. Now, when you get to the bottom of your exhale, you're going to exhale from your diaphragm, your belly area. When you exhale all the way down real low, just hold it for 3 seconds. Don't tighten the muscle. Just let it go naturally. Like, and then pause for 3 seconds and then do your next inhale. Pause. Then do your exhale. Keep this repetition on. And I can assure you, like probably after 10 to 15 repetitions, you're going to feel like you're floating. And that floating process is you actually going into another higher brainwave state of activity, preferably the delta. Go into the higher brainwave state of activity where you can access different levels of energies. So, but now what we're trying to go into a state of trance. So I'm going to demonstrate it for about 3-4 minutes. Okay, I'm gonna do the exercises. I'm gonna breathe in through my nose for 10 seconds. I'm going to hold it for 10 seconds and then complete that process for about 7-8 repetitions. Now just watch me through my nostrils. All right, knowing me, I light already. I already floating out on the ceiling. So I only did about 5 good repetitions, and my whole body feel like I'm like floating. Um, and I absorbed the energies while I was doing it. I saw and see. There's a difference between a visualization and actually seeing something with your eyes closed. There is a huge difference. Let me get up for a second. There we go. And trust me, follow me now, y'all. If I don't drop nothing, waste nothing, break nothing, or broke nothing, or burn nothing, it probably won't work for me. That is very natural for me to knock things over. That means it's going well. So when we so the whole I'm lightheaded. So the whole idea of reaching into the state of trance and what I just demonstrated is what I showed you guys was me using the earth elements that I have here that I've collected and I've formularized um, and charged for these have been charging for like over a week or two, and it was a good experience, man. That 5 repetitions I did, man, I was floating, and for real, I was gone like on a Caribbean island, and just kind of walking around on the beach, man, is what I saw. No doubt, no lie, and interesting. But when you develop your skill set, your trance work, and you in tune your trance work with working with the elements of the earth, it helps you to connect on a deeper level. Now, if I was to take these bones that came from the slave jail, from the bird that died in the slave jail, and I was to take these bones and place these bones on my forehead, giving the spirit of the bird direct access to my mind and my spirit, um, it would actually give me another different type of experience. You know, I was thinking about doing it, but then I said, man, I came from the slave jail, and and the energies there are very, 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 very intense. And for the most part, I don't want to get jumped by any spirits. So, I kind of stay away personally. Just kind of stay away from putting those on my open channel just yet. I'm a root man, so I probably end up doing it anyway. But you definitely get a different, higher level of experience psychically by doing those things. So those techniques are great. and beginning your process to meditation and trance work. I don't call trance work meditation. Meditation is visualization. Trance work is you as actualization. And that's just it for me. Like I said, meditation is visualization. Trance work is actualization. You know, take it for what it is there. Um, so we talked about using totem power. We talked about the significance of just right now, the earth stone, the mountain brick, the pyrite. We all know pyrites attract things. And this is one of the stones that's used all throughout African traditions, magnetites and pyrites, um, to attract things. Our people love it. And this is what we use. It attracts all kinds of good energies towards you, especially in prosperity work and